All right, super excited. What else would I want to be doing at nighttime besides hanging out with my partner Robert Musso, Adam Mitchell, Eric Tomei, John Stanley, all my MIH family members and non-members? We got a great call. This call can honestly go about 4 hours. And what's really cool is actually Adam Mitchell's here and he knows what I did at the restaurant. So a lot of mentors and coaches read books and they teach like business acquisitions and stuff. We don't do that. I'm starting another business with Robert. We are absolutely starting it. It's in the motion. And I was just to be on a board for an accounting firm that me and Yosef are doing, and we're going to bring it to MIH because it's my accountants already and stuff like that. So I'm not just here teaching from books as other gurus and masterminds and things do. We actually do it. And what I'm teaching tonight is 25 years of what I did at the restaurant. And it's pretty cool that I'm going to be teaching from my stories, not from a book of like law of compounding and definitions and stuff like that. So I want you guys to, as I'm teaching, once again, let me let people in. Do not feel embarrassed. Beginner questions, advanced questions, just ask questions at the end, guys. We'd love to make this interactive always. We're going to talk. We're going to go really fast because I want to get through this. Like I said, it could be 4 hours. I have call number 2 already, right? Part 2 right here. 5 main drivers of employee retention. Like there's so much to talk about. We could be on forever. So in getting into that, let me cover some stuff. Share my screen real quick. Ponte guys. FOMO. People on this call, if you're debating on coming or not, we have 72 people already signed up. I wanted 50. I wanted 20. I wanted 30. That's it. I wanted hyper-focused. Rob came in August. We had 25 people at my house. It was a hyper-focused, invite-only. From that, me and Robert closed 2 4 units, and we're starting 2 businesses. Because of that, I actually just had him come to my house because I want to make pizza. I swear to God. He commented on my post, and I'm like, dude, come to my house, make pizza. I'll invite some people over. We'll mastermind. He came. I was in the car, and I'm like, why aren't we doing more deals together? Why aren't we doing businesses together? From that in August, we're starting a business, and we're closing a 17 unit now, and we closed 2 4 units. So, guys, I'm going to be talking about the 2 businesses I'm doing right now at this. Next year, I'm going to do another business. We're talking multifamily. Ian's coming. Me and Ian are going to be working out for 10, 12 days, however long he's here for. We're talking health in this too. 365 for life. Put aside $50 in an envelope. I know I'm very frugal, guys. I'm not, even though I do very, very well, put money aside. I know you have to have vacations for your family. You got a lot of bills. You got what? You got to make this. You got either it's 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days, whatever you can make. All right. You don't have to come all 3. Fly in Friday, stay Friday, Saturday, leave Sunday morning. You don't have to stay Sunday night, or just fly in Saturday morning, stay a day. So whatever you guys have to do on this, if you're not signed up, you have to come. This is the event of the year. It's hyper-focused 72 millionaires in a room that are family. Okay. Robert could go on about 45 minutes about the passion about this event and his event to follow. All right. And it's open to non-members. So let me stop share real quick. And the education I got coming is beyond. We have a guest on AI, business acquisitions, multifamily, health, wealth. Me and Ian are going to be doing 30 to 45 minutes on health together. I'm so excited for you.
Marco, you're on mute.
Marco, you're on mute.
Oh, you guys muted. So set number 2. We're looking at 2 business. I'm looking at 2 businesses. Like I said, an accounting firm. I'm going to get into that later, and a vending business. Number 3, Robert and Jennifer. She's on this call. We're closing a 17 unit JV. We may have 50K spot left because we had a $300,000 1031 lowered to 200, I think, or 250, something like that. But we're closing that in 30 to 45 days. And number 4, I said part 2 of this call is going to be coming in a month or 2 months after this. Okay. Before I share my screen, you guys might write this down. By the way, I'm not going to have like 10 slides. I don't do that shit. For you guys to like take screenshots of and it's pretty and you follow along. I'm going to have 1 slide. And if you guys are going to get the recording in MIH. If you're not in MIH, we sell this after for 49 or 79. Take some notes. These first 2 things I would jot down. They're not in the presentation. These are the two biggest tips, and people really don't teach this right now. Okay. And then I'm going to start the presentation and go into the other 10 or 13 things that we teach. The number one tip on employee retention and motivation is I did it from 1996 to 2019, and I heard Gary Vee teach it in 2020. After I was doing it, is get to know your employee. So if you're a big corporate and you have 40,000 employees, maybe that's hard, but you have a human resource department. I had 12 when I started in 1995, and I grew to 32, a little 75 seat restaurant. I grew to 32 part-time, full-time employees. That's a lot, guys. A little joint like mine, that's a lot. But get to know your employee. What does that mean, guys? Think granular now. My employee, Elmer, does he want more pay? Does he want more family time? Does he want to work overtime? Does he like his current position? Or does he want a better position? He wanted to stay at that current position. Who wants to grow? Who doesn't want to grow? This is important. Gary Vee talks about this, guys. Follow Gary Vee. If you're buying a business, you have to do this. The ones who do this will 10x their businesses. This is one of the biggest tips ever. Gary Vee talks about empathy, gratitude. Get to know your employee. If you get to know them, they're going to stay. If you don't get to know them, you don't know what they want, they will leave because they're going to go find what they want in another company. Okay? Like I said, it is so important to get to know them. I'll give you an example. My pizza man / cook, I made him everything. Renee, he got divorced, and you know what he wanted? He was hurting. He came to me, he was hurting. I knew him really well. He didn't want time off. He wanted overtime. We were closed on Mondays, and I said, I could do caterings. He goes, you know what? I want to work extra. I want to make money because I'm building a house in San Salvador. So I said, Monday morning from 9 to 12, I could do 3 caterings every Monday from reps. We're closed. I'll give you the key. You want to go in and do the caterings? I'll pay you. I make money. He goes, yes, I'll work those hours. I got to know him internally. And this was in 2007 to 11. During the recession, he was working 7 days a week because that's what he wanted. So when the recession was over in 2012, everybody's talking recession. I said, Renee, how was the recession? I said, you worked 7 days a week and made extra money. You didn't feel the recession. He's like, yeah, I know. Okay. Another guy, like I said, Elmer, my salad guy and pasta guy, he didn't like pressure and he loved his job and he's really good at it. One of my main cooks right next to him left, and he was the next in line to get promoted, but I got to know him. And that next position up was more paid, but it was very stressful. A lot more stress than his. He was happy with his pay where he was, and he didn't want to be promoted. He liked his hours. He liked his life. He liked his job. Other people would have pushed him to that next position, and he probably would have went there, and he would have quit because there's too much pressure. So I knew him, and I said to him, I'm like, dude, do you want the position? Do you want me to hire or push somebody else from another position there or whatever? He goes, Marco, I don't want that position. I'm happy where I am. And he was amazing at his job. He learned it. He was amazing, and that's it. Do you understand getting to know your employee? Where the boss would have made a mistake and said, no, you're up next. You're promoted. Get there, do it, be quiet, stop complaining. What would happen in 4 months? That guy would quit and go to another place for less money and an easier job. Okay? Get to know your employee. Number 2 is that picture I put up on the chat today, be a leader, not a boss. I'm not going to share it right now. For non-members, I will send it later, but be a leader, not a boss. Actually, you know what? Let me share it real quick, and then we'll get into the presentation. This is very important. My actually old school father taught me this. My dad, who didn't go to college, and was off a boat. All right. My computer's acting up. I'm not going to share it. So you guys, if you saw in the chat, it shows what a boss says and what a leader says. So that's the second thing. On the chat, I'm going to re-put it up there once again. Let me Let me start sharing. We can get right into the presentation. So those are two tips before we cover everything, basically. Employee motivation and retention strategies. So this is the only slide I need. We're going to go over 10 to 13 other ones. But like I said, I think getting to know your employee, I could have talked another 40 minutes on that, more examples. The first one, I'm going to let Rob, I'm going to let you take over and I'll add to it. Hire candidates aligned with your company values. Start out with that, Rob, and go ahead, take it over.
Yeah, it's good to be here with everyone. And, these topics resonate with me and Marco tremendously, um, based on just years of experience. And for myself, for example, and let me take a step back. I want to start by saying I know a lot of you in this room right now are leaders within your own right. Some of you own your own businesses. Some of you are senior executives that and you have a staff or a bunch of employees that you run on a daily basis in very high octane environments. So most of you right now could step in and teach this class yourself and could educate everyone. So chime in and feel free to add anything that's valuable. But myself, for example, I was very fortunate to grow up at a very, very young age in two small businesses where my mother and father, who didn't have much, um, but they both started their own business very, very close to home where I lived. They decided, my mother was born in another country. My four grandparents were as well. They're from Sicily. And my mother was an entrepreneur at a very, very young age. And she bought a small piece of real estate, opened up her business right next door. My father did the same exact thing. It was the quintessential hardware store before Home Depot existed in the early 1980s. And my mother was the travel agent in town when you actually had to walk into a travel agent's office and book your plane tickets and your trip to Disney World or wherever you wanted to go. So I grew up in that business. I knew everything at a very, very young age. And those two elements of small business as well as the hardware store, which has a lot of elements in real estate, as well as the travel, is the reason why I kind of morphed all that into who I am today. So growing up in the small businesses was amazing. And then after I graduated from college, I went straight to a senior role in corporate America for over 20 years. While I was investing in real estate, I was in these roles in corporate America in the hotel and hospitality space, and I was constantly involved in building teams and building businesses within businesses and overseeing businesses. For example, working at many of these hotels, we were overseeing the spa, the golf course, restaurants, retail, the whole nine yards. And today, fast forward, we are basically all in our own businesses in our own right when we're in real estate, forming teams and joint ventures and syndications. Um, Marco and I are starting a couple of entrepreneurial roles with small businesses. We'll announce that soon. I'm working with folks in this room like Jennifer, for example. We're going to be working together on a couple of things like a fund and some other businesses within property management. So a lot of this is going to be golden nuggets for all of you, as you continuously elevate your elite skills that are already in place, or if you're starting in a beginning phase. Hopefully, they say you absorb some information that could always lead to a better path for you. So, um, I like to, this is a great topic for me. Hiring candidates aligned with your own company values. In corporate America, we used to talk about ethos and culture. And I think a lot of you are familiar with that, right? If you surround yourself with negative people, you're going to breed negativity. If you surround yourself with positive people, you're going to probably have positive results. When you build your team, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in a small business, whether it's a restaurant, or whatever the case may be, you need to make sure that hiring candidates aligns with your company values. And this all breaks down into small businesses, entrepreneurship, and corporate teams as well. So hire people who align with your values. so that they can follow your strategic plans and missions. They support your culture. They're motivated by all different outcomes, and not self-centered and self-oriented. So, culture, we used to say this, and I wrote this down. Um, Culture fit equals survival, right? So in corporate America, we had to answer to shareholders, we had to answer to CEOs. We had heavy budgets. In some cases, I had to manage 25 to $50 million budgets to make sure we produced in all retrospects. And if we had a bad culture, we were dead in the water. So having that culture where everyone's on board, you've heard the expression where everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid, but everyone's on board with the mission statement, with the culture, with the ethos is extremely important. Every hire matters, we always used to say as well, because one bad fit could poison your whole entire momentum and flow. So, some of the talking points and examples that I wanted to bring up. Imagine, and this relates to some of the real estate. Imagine a six-person construction team, right? If one guy is negative, one guy cuts corners and doesn't show up on time, he's about 17% of the problem every day. But if you hire someone who respects quality and craftsmanship, like the owner does, it not only reverts to gold for your whole entire team, but you could actually be more productive, and get the construction jobs done quicker, produce more money, have better tenant retention, tenant satisfaction. Referrals is huge in businesses as well. So all of this is extremely important. Um, Marco, you ran one of the most difficult businesses in the industry. I used to oversee some restaurants and look at the food and beverage and catering, and see how difficult it was to maintain profit on food, get customers back, keep the menus diversified and fresh.
Rob, I was the only restaurant in the county to retain workers. The waitresses and kitchen staff, restaurants at the highest turnover. I was the only restaurant in the tri-state like county to my customers would come in and be like, you're the only place that I see the same faces for like the last 10, 12, 15 years. You know, and that's what we're talking about tonight. I did it in one of the hardest industries because restaurant business corporate has a little less. You take an accounting job or whatever job, you stay longer. Restaurant waitress, this usually the turnover is super high. Not at my place. My unemployment, we had a bank, a kitty or whatever. We never touched it because people didn't leave. People were never really fired because I hired right. So unemployment, where we had to pay, they take out of when they leave. We never really had to pay out unemployment over 25 years, just a couple people. So yeah, Rob, that's why I'm so confident doing this call is I succeeded in the toughest industry where I had a core team. Mary, I see her in Disney now. She's 60 something years old, 65, 62. She was with me 25 years. 25 years. That's crazy, you
Yeah,
know?
right. And you have that gut feeling for it. You can teach skill all day long. You can train people all day long, but the values are hardwired. If you hire a jerk, if you hire someone who just is a rotten person and negative, you can teach them all the skills you want. But if they are a negative seed within your environment, it's going to breed more negativity and it's going to spread like black mold.
The one
So
thing I gotta say
extremely
is
important.
One thing I gotta say is hiring. One of the reasons I sold the restaurant is hiring in 1995 to 2005 was really easy. My 78-year-old mom now saw it. In 2018, she was getting very upset and nervous. She goes, everybody that's coming in is really not good. She like I said, my mom, society's changing. She couldn't accept it. She couldn't accept she didn't she grew up in a world where there wasn't many drugs and her friends didn't do drugs and where everybody was coming in was full of tattoos and a lot more drugs and alcohol, and she just couldn't accept it. She didn't understand it. So that's one driver that got me to sell the restaurant is the quality of hiring. It's pretty sad nowadays. And we're
Yeah.
doing businesses. You just got to work harder. That's it.
And on this last note, before we move on to the next topic, I like to talk about things that are possibly relatable to everyone. So a lot of people don't own restaurants or small businesses at this point, but we're all in real estate most likely. And we talk about this quite often, or at least I do. And, like I talk about this with, Jennifer, who's on the call right now, from a property management down to a partnership perspective, if you have a deal, whether it's a syndication or a joint venture, it's the same thing. Um, Pretend each asset you have is your own small business. If you have the wrong people in the wrong roles, your asset has a much higher chance to fail. You know, Actions speak louder than words. You'll get a lot of people sometimes who say, "I have this skill set. I want to do that. I want to take on this role." And then when it comes down to the hard work, they're not on board. They're not on board with the ethos. They're not on board with the culture. They're not on board with the mission statement, or strategy that you sold them on to become a partner, or they sold you on to become a partner. And that's a problem. And, we've been doing this a long time. And if you have the negative people who are pointing fingers, who are not there for you when times are tough, and they will be in real estate always, if they're not there to lift you up, and if they're constantly pointing fingers, knocking down, or they're volunteering for positions and then they back off those positions and they're just not doing their job, that needs to change. And you need to modify and adapt until you find the right team. It's like a sports team. Same thing. Got to switch your first baseman, go to the bullpen, get the pitcher in early, go to the farm systems, get someone else in. Or next season, make the right changes before you go back into, another season with the wrong team. There's no you should not surround yourself with people who aren't on board with your culture, with your ethos, and with your mission statement. And you want to work with people who you like, who are like-minded individuals who are in that think tank environment. So important from a small business to a corporate business as well. And then I'll leave it at that, Marco. I think there's some golden
Yeah.
nuggets in there, and we could move on to the next
I'm going to move
topic.
on to the next one, but the last thing is Harvard 80. I'll read what I wrote down. This is a very important thing I looked up. Harvard 80, it's a Harvard study, 80% of turnover due to company not hiring aligned with company core values. So this first one right there, if you hire fast, you got to fire faster, as Gary Vee says. You have to hire according to company core values, or 80% is going to be a turnover. Okay. When they are aligned, they're going to stay longer. Number two, building a solid onboarding strategy. I'll start, Rob, and then you could finish on this one. At the restaurant, I used to tell my wife, when somebody, an important guy, say my salad bar guy who did the salads, the sandwiches, the focaccia sandwiches, and he sent out the pasta and he did all the preppers and the shrimp calamari and everything. We would have to hire somebody we couldn't promote. And if I hired somebody, I would tell my wife, listen, my life's going to suck for 3 weeks. I'm going to be home later 2 hours and go in earlier an hour. I'm going to have to train this guy. And then what I would also do is, maybe instead of 3 weeks, I would get Kevin, one of my other main cooks, and say, Kevin, I'm going to give you $800 extra this week. I need you to support me, man. I need you to stand by this guy and let's take care of him. Let's make him feel comfortable. Let's make him feel welcome. He's nervous. He's going to cut himself because he's nervous, because he's rushing, whatever. And this is the whole thing, is you want to make somebody feel comfortable when they're new, because they're nervous as shit. They want to produce. So I would tell him, I'm going to pay you extra this week. Let's train him, me and you. I train him in the day, you train him at night, vice versa, whatever. 2 weeks of our life's going to suck, whatever, and that's how it was in a restaurant. And we did it. But sometimes when we were promoted, it was better. But that's how it always was. And it would only happen every 8 months or a year and a half, or people stayed by me. But I was used to it. And my wife was used to it too. That when somebody important left, I would have to suck it up. When I was 27, 28 and that happened, I would get fucking pissed. I would be like, this sucks. My days off are messed up, everything. When I was like 35, as you get older, when I was 35, I was numb to it. I was so fucking good and fast, I didn't give a shit. I'm like, all right, I know what I got to do. I got 3 kids. Who cares? It's 2 weeks. Big deal. Suck it up. Like David Goggins, stop complaining. Stop being a bitch. Get it done. Nobody cares. Work harder. They don't care about your complaining. So, but when you're young, it used to get me mad. Now I'm 50. If I had to do it wouldn't bother me. I'm used to it. I know it's going to happen. So you can't let things mess up your day or your life when you're an entrepreneur and you're a business owner. When you're a business owner, you got to roll with the punches. If things bother you, you can't own businesses, because shit's going to happen every day. Every day shit's going to happen. You just got to solve it, move on. Like my wife, she used to find out about, from like my brother, from other people, shit that happened in restaurants. She said, why don't you tell me? I'm like, why you got to stress when I'm stressing about it? I solved the problem. It's done. I would never really tell her. I didn't have to involve her. So number two, building a solid onboarding strategy and training. That's what we're talking. We're training. At my last example, was at Jake and Gino when I worked with my brother. When I got trained, they didn't really have a really good training system in, but I'm Gino's brother, so they didn't go crazy training me. It was like Gino to me was like, Marco, figure it out. Like here, this is what you're going to be doing. You're onboarding students, you're creating accountability pods, you're getting people to events where I got 150 people to one of his money mixers when the most he ever had was 40. I figured it out. I was an entrepreneur. I don't need to be trained. But when I saw that and I said, you know what, I'm closing 22 deals with Chris, with Robert, the mastermind, I'm not going to be able to work with my brother forever. So I already thought when I leave, I need a good onboarding and training strategy for somebody to take my place because I do the work of 2, 3 people. So what did I do? I built a good training strategy. When somebody came in, I sat with her for 3 weeks and it didn't bother me. I felt like I was at the restaurant. I trained her really, really well. I made her feel comfortable. I made her feel calm. She was nervous. I trained her, got her all set up, and she was good to go. All right. So that's really important because when somebody starts, they're not going to show it to you, but they're nervous because it's something new. But once they learn, it's easy. So you really got to be organized if you have your businesses, guys. And you got to learn how to train people. You got to learn how to have patience. Patience, like Gary says, is important. Rob, take it over, talk a minute or two about this, and then we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, no, I mean, real quick, everything you said was spot on. You have to find that balance. And again, a lot of you who own your own businesses, you know that things could be a revolving door. If things don't work out. Most of my friends who own restaurants right now, that's the word they use all the time. If I see them at, you know, uh, a birthday party, or if I see him at my son's baseball game or something, and we talk about business, everyone's telling me the same thing who owns restaurants. Things are a revolving door these days. They cannot retain employees. It's very, very difficult. And we're in a culture right now where, and I love cooking, as most of you know, and I love going out to eat like Marco. Me and Marco are so engulfed in the food and beverage world, but it's so difficult for me to go out sometimes right now because these beautiful restaurants with beautiful ambiances and what seems to be a good menu has terrible food, extremely high prices, really bad service, and they kick you out. They don't care. They're not knowledgeable on the food. It's terrible. And there's a problem right now, in the food and beverage world, where you just can't find good people and you cannot
Rob, the
retain.
reason is technology. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to be an influencer. Everyone wants to be on TikTok Shop. That's the problem. The young generation doesn't want to. My restaurant, Julio, 62 years old. I sold my restaurant. He's still working at the same restaurant. He was with me for at Pizza Week for 35 years. The older generation is happy with their salary, happy with their job. The younger generation starts, they get the top pay, and then they're like, what's that? What's next? I'm like, you're a top pay, bro, in the restaurant. Where are you going? They're like, no, it's not enough. Like they'll jump and there's nowhere to jump. It's weird. The people here, I can't explain the younger generation. If I got 2, 3 years out of the younger generation, that was a lot. My older generation, Renee, Julio, the ones like my age, they stayed 25 years. It's that. Why do you think I don't own the restaurant right now? I had the #1 restaurant on TripAdvisor in Mayapack. I had accounts at LaGuardia Airport. One of the main reasons was staffing, guys. But I'm doing other businesses that is like the vending machines that I'm not going to have 30 employees. You see what I'm saying? So there's ways to combat it.
I saw it about 20 years ago, and here's how I saw it. When I was hiring people, I was looking at resumes and I was prepping myself for the interview. And I thought a few of them all of a sudden were one-offs, where I was looking at resumes and I was looking at history, and I said, this person's been in one job for 8 months, the next job for 12 months, the next job for
Yep.
10 months. I said, they're jumping all over the place. Now I thought that I was judging the person before I even met them, but then I was starting to see it over and over and over again, and we started to become a nomadic society where people are in and out of jobs. And in some cases, like Marco said, he was lucky if he was able to retain a couple of these tenants, a couple of these employees for 2 years. That's good. Same thing in the real estate world. The National
The young
Association.
guys, 2 to 3 years was amazing on the young guys. I had my core 4 guys in the kitchen and my core waitresses that were 20 to 25 years. They're older
Yeah.
ones like that were not going nowhere. But the young people, if I got 3 years, I'd sign the dotted line. That was great. You know, that
When I
that
used to travel across the country and across the world, at some of these more exclusive hotels or restaurants, or when I would visit my family in Sicily, or I'd go to Greece or Spain or Portugal or France, it, it's a profession working in the hotel industry. I'm sorry, working in the food and beverage industry. And I would go back 7, 8, 12 years later and see the same, staff. And they took pride in their job. I know that in the restaurant industry here, it's like I'm almost in between jobs, so I have to become a waiter or a waitress. It's a shame. It's a shame, especially when us, the consumer, we're busting our asses weekly. We want that quality time at a restaurant. We don't want to be rushed out. We want good food. We want reasonable prices, and we want great service. And we're not getting it right now. And it's a problem. So, it's a combination of it's a combination of the environment, but it's also a combination of the ownership. And we're in America. You can do whatever you want to do. You've never, those Holiday Inn Express commercials, where everyone thinks they're smart, because they stayed at a Holiday Inn. You could do whatever you want. I had a friend recently who opened up a burger place. I don't think I've ever seen him grill a hot dog in his life. Yeah, I think he had all the cards against him, and he failed within a year and a half, and he lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But he had the opportunity to do it in America. But everything that he, tried to accomplish was mostly on emotion and hope. And he didn't have the greatest strategy in place. So, you got to be very, very careful today, on how you do things. And we can leave it at that, Marco, and
Yeah.
hit the next
Yeah,
topic.
we're gonna start going faster too on these. Learn how not to micromanage. I have a good story about this. My father was micromanaging. He didn't go to college. He did not have a lot of he was a perfectionist. My dad was really good at what he did. He was fucking awesome. He was a great chef, self-taught. But I would be cutting a box of tomatoes, and he'd be like, say, 8 years later, and he would walk by me and he'd be like, "Don't cut those too thin." I'm like, "Dude, it's a freaking tomato. I've won like 5 awards, and you're worrying about how thick I'm cutting the damn tomato for the focaccia sandwich." You know, he would micromanage everything. He would do a lot more work than he needed to do because he didn't trust the other people. Okay, so now I get that. I get that. He has pride in what he does. What I learned from him and me and my brother, and I told you, we need to be better than that now because of him, because we have more training, we have more resources and education that he didn't have. So you need patience. You need to learn how to not micromanage. You need to learn how to promote accountability and have them take responsibilities if they do make mistakes. Let them do it. Like, hey, you do this job, prep these shrimp. If it gets messed up, or you look at them right, they're okay. You need to do them better next time. Let me show you a little more. You got to have the patience of them messing up. It's okay to mess up a little bit. It's not the end of the world. We can fix it. Involve them in decision making too. Big corporates involve in decision making. Um, Give them opportunity to take over. Where's his ownership? Oh, so yeah, just the main thing is patience and not being on top of them, but training them and guiding them and teaching them how to like have them have the authority to do it and not be nervous about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's very difficult. I think for me in the beginning, I was learning from my father and I was micromanaging because of my dad. He was telling me we have to do everything, me and Gino, whatever. We have all these people hired, and I'm like, Dad, what the hell am I paying them for? So it stems back to you really need to train them. You need to instill confidence in them, and you need to train them well. So Rob, you want to say anything on this one, and we'll move to the next one?
Yeah, we can move on to the next one. And
Okay.
to keep it moving a little bit, but yeah, you're absolutely right on everything you just said.
All right. So start out on the next one. Encourage career growth and skill development opportunities. Talk a little about maybe corporate, what they do, and then I'll mention what I did at the restaurant and smaller things or stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, I could even relate it to, small business. I remember when, my mother was hiring in her business, and my father was, as well as in corporate America. Before we even hired somebody, we were always trying to really understand. And I think a lot of you can relate to this. What is your 5-year plan, right? That question was very, very common, in interviews for many, many years. And it's true because, you want to understand people's longer term value, not just the short term. So that's something that, we constantly try to work on. In corporate America, you know, when you are able to understand a person's mission and strategy and vision, then you're able to create actionable steps to take them to the place that they need to be and where we need them within our small businesses or within our corporate role. And then there are ways that all different resources and departments within either a small business or a larger corporation can work with that individual within a certain department and align it with the company's goals and values as well as the employees vision and values. That cohesiveness, okay, it makes that employee feel worthy. Okay. It makes them feel that they are part of a family. It gives them incentive and motivation to stick with this job and to give it its all. And then that motivation will lead to, productivity and growth, and an alignment with coworkers, and, everyone wins. And that's kind of what you want to incorporate into your mission statement. Again, whether you own a small pizzeria, whether you own a small retail store, or whether you're in a very, big corporate environment or role. And I think those are very important things. Encourage career growth and skill development opportunities. Again, make it relatable to even what we're doing within our multifamily real estate. If we're bringing on people to a team, and maybe there are some people who do not have the skill set to play the roles that they want yet, find a way to perhaps have them shadow, um, learn, educate themselves in roles that make sense for your team. And then over the course of a year or two, if those roles start to develop and uncover other skill sets that make sense, then perhaps there's a longer term vision on how you can see cohesiveness and alignment and growth even within the small real estate assets that you own. So extremely, extremely important to work with everyone in that career growth and skill development phase. It's the biggest return on investment you can possibly have within a business. So
I'm going to give you one example story from my restaurant, and the best way we teach is from stories. Um, my guy Renee, when I hired him, I was 23 years old, and we lost the pizza man. He was at the bank, and my brother ran into him, and he wanted to work for our family. He knew about our family. He worked at a restaurant right down the road from me, and my brother goes, he was a chef, a cook, not a chef really, but a good cook. And my brother's like, we have a pizza man position. He's like, you know what? He wanted to leave. There was toxic behavior in his other restaurant, and there's bad. The culture was bad, as we're talking about. And he's like, I'll take the position. And my brother came to me, and I met with him. I'm like, Renee, you're a cook. The pizza man position's a couple bucks less, but you're gonna work in the front with me. Like, I got to teach you how to make pizza. He's like, I'll learn. He's like, I want to work for you. So then I looked at him. I said, you know what? I said, you're going to learn the pizza, you're going to learn the front, but I'm going to teach you my desserts. I'm going to teach you how to do the backyard barbecues. I'm going to teach you how to do, I'm going to teach you everything, like little by little. I gave him a vision of growth. I said, how's that sound? I said, because you're not a pizza man, you're a chef. I said, but he's like, but I really want to work with you, Marco. I know your family, and I hired him. So career growth and skill development at 23 years old, I saw it with nobody teaching me. How am I going to keep this guy's a rock star? He was a family guy and he stayed with me. He just called me last week. He got out of the restaurant industry because of me once I sold. He's driving 16 wheelers now. And he passes through Jacksonville from, believe it or not, from New York. And I'm going to go have lunch with him after 30 years. Okay. That's how much we care about each other. So I looked at him and I said, you know what? I'm going to train. You're going to start here. We're going to hire in the pizzeria in a year or two after you learn everything. He learned how to make all my desserts, creme brulee, everything. We did backyard barbecues at 200, 400 people. We did wedding caterings. We catered LaGuardia Airport. He delivered. He learned the kitchen too as a chef. So he was a utility guy, like in baseball. He played second base, third base, first base, right field. He was the guy in the team that you want. He was amazing. And I learned how to develop skills with him. And then I did it with my other chefs that not everybody, there was cooks there. Not everybody had a great hand in spicing the sauces. Renee had a great hand. When I told him how to make my balsamic dressing, that was a secret. He made it almost better than me. I would say maybe better than me. There was nobody in the restaurant that could do that. So it's very important to, if you have a good person, try and see if you can grow them in your company to the max pay. He got to max pay in my restaurant, and then he was happy. He literally got to really max pay, and that's it. So creating a non-toxic work environment. I'm going to take this one, Rob, and then we'll go. I'll let you start team time after that. So my brother always uses the word cancer as toxic. Like, if there's somebody's a cancer, you need to get rid of cancer in your property management company, in your restaurant, in your corporate job, in your corporate company, in your plumbing, whatever. You hire fast, you fire faster, as Gary Vee says. Sometimes you have to hire fast sometimes. Um, I'm going to give you another example story of my restaurant, how to get rid of the cancer and get rid of a toxic worker. So I had a guy I hired. He was good in the beginning. He started out, he was good. It was really weird. He was prepping the shrimp. His job was the fryer and saute pan. Like, he had a section. And then all of a sudden, it was like 3 weeks in or 4 weeks in, he was starting to get like slow and lazy. And my kitchen team worked great together. Like, they would support each other and work hard. And it got to the point where Juan, my main guy, came to me. He goes, "I can't work with this guy, man." He's like, it was bringing him down. This guy was my main, like, I needed him to stay forever. So he's like, "I can't work with this guy." He's like, if this guy's here, I don't know, maybe in like 6 months, I'm gone. I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" He's like, "No, I can't work with him, man. He's slow. He's not finishing his work. He's messing us up at 5 o'clock when the line's getting busy." So I'm like, "Dude, I'm stuck right now. We don't have a guy we could promote. The guy at the dishwasher section right now, I can't promote this guy. He's not good enough. He just started 2 months ago." He said, Juan said to me, he goes, "Fire him." He goes, "I'll work 7 days a week for 3 weeks." He goes, "I'd rather work 7 days a week than work with this guy." I said, "You serious?" I said, "All right, I'll work with you." I said, "Let's do 7 days a week for 2 weeks. If you agree to that, I'll get rid of him tomorrow. And I'll work with you for 2 weeks, 7 days a week, because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hire that fast right now." I said, "I think I will be able to internally. We'll get somebody, bring somebody in. But if we can't, our life's going to suck for 2 weeks." And my guy Juan was like, "I don't care, man. Me and you will do it. Get rid of him. I can't have him here. He's toxic to everybody." And we got rid of him. So that, if even in corporate, it's different. You have people like that too, who are just, they're just not on board. They're not part of the culture. They're lazy. They're just, they're not part of the team. And you got to create a good environment. You can't have a toxic environment. People, coworkers, they don't have to hang out after work, but during work they have to get along. They have to be on the same page. They have to be willing to help each other. And when one's done with work, help the other. My staff at the restaurant, when my guy Elmer was done, I would say, "Yo, go give him a hand with the lettuce and prepping the lettuce for dinner." Absolutely, boss. I made that culture where I would go help. So everybody knew that if you're doing your job, go give a hand, man. Don't be sitting around. Nobody sat around my place, because me, the leader, I was the leader. I didn't sit around. I never. And by the way, like Gary Vee says, who was the hardest worker in my restaurant? Was it Juan? No, it was me. That's the thing. These corporates, there's a difference between leader and boss. The boss says what to do. The leader shows, "Let's do it together." So if you want a 10x, 20x your business, you got to be a leader. You're, like Gary Vee says, you got to be the hardest working person in your company. If you want to put on that Armani suit and be that CFO, and you'll do okay, you'll make millions or whatever. But if you really want to crush it, you got to, the hardest work. On the chat, I have 52 deals. I could sit back, relax. I have to be the hardest worker in MIH Mastermind. I am the leader MIH. I cannot let Rob work harder than me. We compete. I cannot let Junko work harder than me. What example am I setting? I'm the mentor, the coach, the leader. I have to work the hardest, as I did at the restaurant. Okay. Um, so we can go, that's enough on non-talk. It's just very simple. If somebody's not good for the company, you gotta cut the cord fast. Get rid of the cancer. Like my bro says, get rid of the cancer. Cancer spreads, and that's it. Encourage team time after work. And that's very simple, explanatory. You got to build, it's good for people to get along. Not everybody in the company's going to get along, but Rob, talk about that a little bit, about your corporate. You guys, you had your core group that you liked and you hung out a little bit, and go ahead, talk about that.
I mean, this is another one I can talk about forever because it's just part of my personality too, is that I just love having fun. No matter how old I get, If you're not having fun with stuff that you're doing in life, I don't know what you're doing. But to each his own, and I wish you the best of luck, health, and success. When I was in corporate America, we did team retreats. We went out to dinner constantly. We ate at each other's homes. We went out for happy hour almost every other day when we were all together in the city. I worked in Manhattan for many years, even though I was traveling across the country and world. We bonded. We learned about each other's personal lives. We started to care about one another. And then when you get into work, you're working as a cohesive team. All these topics just start to become a domino effect. If I go out with Marco and I start liking him and he starts telling me about his family and we start bonding together, I look forward to hanging out with him after work. We work harder together when we're in business together. We got each other's backs. We're looking out for one another. I'm doing it with so many of you on this call. I'm doing it with so many of you in MIH. Again, to a relatable situation within our own real estate family. Why do you think Marco has all these events every year? So that we could get to know one another and have some fun while we are talking business. You don't want to do business with people who you don't like. At least I don't. Um, and I don't think any of you should tolerate that either. If you're not, if you just don't like someone, if you get a bad gut feeling or vibe from someone, they're probably not the right person to do business with. At one point in time, it's just not going to work out. When I was in the hotel sector, I booked a lot of those meetings and events, those corporate retreats, whether it was Pfizer Pharmaceuticals or JP Morgan Chase or Hewlett Packard. They would have company retreats and they'd go to Bermuda for a week. They'd go to Arizona for a week. They'd go to Italy for a week and have these corporate retreats. Again, in MIH, we do these events in Ponte Vedra, in Pennsylvania, in Kansas City, wherever they are, to get to know one another. So, yeah, I think it's extremely important. If you only see each other in the office, you're not seeing the true person. And I think it's important to try to bond with people outside of work. I see far too many people in our industry within real estate as well. They're chasing deals, they're chasing money, but they're not chasing relationships. It all aligns with building relationships as well. Building relationships is bonding with people and having some fun first before you commit to a deal. Far too many people are rushing into deals without getting to know people and without even liking these people. And I'm seeing how costly it can be. So extremely, extremely important.
Yep, and that's enough because we're gonna move quick. I'm not even gonna talk about that when I did have some stuff down, but I'll say real quick. I sent over to Isaac on our property management company. I sent him over $300, and I told him who you really close with. He's like Ashton and three other people. I said, here's $300. Go out to drink Friday. Go out Friday night. Go out to have some Mexican and drinks after work, whatever. Thursday. The team, they sent me a picture of them drinking. All of them texted me, thank you, so happy. Every once in a while, I send them $200-300. Go have drinks on me. Not we have 40 people that work for us. I call Isaac, how many people are you really close with? Who do you want to take out? He's like, there's about 5 or 6 of us. I got you. Okay. So I'm always going to do that for them. Rewards and recognition. I'm going to cover this in 10 seconds. You think rewards and recognition is they got to get awards like employee of the month. Everybody fucking does that. You want to know something? The most important thing is not giving somebody a reward or maybe a bonus too sometimes. Besides giving a $10,000, $20,000 bonus, whatever, the best thing you could do is sending a text to somebody showing you care. I sent it to my partners like Robert, like, man, I appreciate you. Greatly appreciate you, bro. But even to your employees, like my guy Kevin, it was Christmas Eve. We worked so hard, and I sent him a text, man. Thank you so much. I really needed you today. Like everything that you did, showing the care, plus a little bonus, of course, you got for Christmas. But that text and reaching out and communicating, not just once, but often, like every month, whenever it's needed, showing people you care, that's recognition. And I wear my heart on my sleeve. If you're an owner, don't be afraid to show people you care. You need to show people you care. It goes a long way. And the rewards, yes, monetary is always amazing. Employee of the month, stuff like that. But caring and gratitude and empathy trumps everything. It makes the reward even better. Okay. Because just sticking somebody with money is great. And they're like, yeah, great, I got a bonus. But like when the person that works for you really sees you care, genuinely and honestly sees you care, and you're in the trenches together and you're busting your ass together, and it means a lot. So it's something that my father taught me because my father was a very caring person, being an immigrant, and it shows. People can tell if it's honest too. So that's very important. Next one, must be able to competitively and properly pay them. This is not like a weird one, but like, Rob, you want me to take this? You want to start this one out? How
It's
do you?
not, this was probably the pinnacle of everything I did in corporate America because I was in sales and
So
marketing.
go ahead, take this one. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I mean, basically, I dealt with this for 20 years in corporate America, and it was because I was in sales. So a lot of you could relate to bonuses and sales incentive plans and whatnot. I know small businesses do things as such, but it is really a larger corporate America thing as well. But you have quotas, you have targets, you have goals. If you achieve those goals, targets, there's a possibility to receive incentives. This is huge in the real estate community as well. If you're a broker or an agent, everything's based on commission. So there are so many ways to incentivize people with gifts and taking them on vacations and this and that. But in a world where everything is so damn expensive today, that monetary incentive is extremely important. So so basically, I think it's very important to speak to your employees to try to understand what they need, what they want, what motivates them. Some people like to be pat on the back all the time. Some people need rewards and recognition. Some people don't care about any of that. Some people are driven by money, some people are not. But these are extremely important items to make sure that your employees, appreciate and want. So, Marco, in your restaurant, if you had 100 employees or 50 employees part-time and full-time at one point and you were offering them the wrong incentive, what's to motivate them to stay, right? So you got to make sure that you have the right incentives and monetary examples in place so that they want to stay, they want to they want to perform at top capacity. Employee of the month, maybe there's an incentive there. Salesperson of the year. Several years in corporate America, I won Salesperson of the Year. They give you an additional bonus. They take you and your family on vacation to an exotic destination for a week. They give you XYZ. So every company is different, but I think it's important to have these incentives in place that resonate with the employees. And if you have the wrong incentives in place, you're just not going to have any additional motivation.
Yeah. You know what I learned in 25 years of my restaurant? It's amazing what you learn going analytics and stuff. Um, and competitively paying people. My restaurant was one of the busiest I get in the town. Like the restaurants all looked at me. If I was busy, they were a little busy. If I was slow, they were dead. So my guys were paid well. My dishwasher made as much as a cook did in some other restaurants. So the other restaurants couldn't retain their employees as good as me because they couldn't pay as much because they weren't doing as much business I was doing. So that's the benefit of me being really busy and crushing it at the restaurant. I was able to pay my employees a little bit more without even realizing it because I needed them. I would see how much the people paid in town, but I'm like, dude, I got to pay this guy this much or else he's not going to stay. He's going to try and go to another place as busy as me in another town or something. So I was very fortunate that I could competitively pay more than other restaurants, and they were pissed because they couldn't pay because they weren't doing as much business. So it was a very good thing that we had a really busy business. Um, yeah, and we could go on about that, but I think that's enough. Mental health. I talk about mental health a lot in non-business and business. I walk slash jog 5 to 7 miles a day. I'm actually doing a 65 to 90 day. I'm on day 3 or day 2, a workout plan on the 365 chat. Um, but I really stress walking for mental health, and depression and everything. And all my great businesses were created on walks and jogs. That endorphins are kicking in. My employees would see me exercising and would see me walking, and my brother would walk 45 minutes a day every day. I would encourage my main employees to take care of themselves. I would tell them during the day, hey, if you want to take a break, an extra break, I would give them. go out, taking, I would tell them what I do and they see what I would do. And I would always, even when I'm my age, it's okay to be vulnerable sometimes. I would open up to them and be vulnerable and explain to them like things going on in my life and, you know, and talk about mental health with employees. And I would see some struggles like Juan with his family, with his kid, if his kid was sick or something like that. And I would talk about mental health is very, very important. And I got to know my employees really, really well. So I mean, Rob, do you want to touch on this a little bit or not really?
Your health is your wealth. We talk about it every single solitary day. I mean, it it was always my health was always my wealth, but I wasn't really practicing and applying it. And it wasn't until about 12 years ago where I got a little bit sick from all the traveling and the food and the lack of exercise and just the lifestyle I was living, where it took a few days in the hospital to realize that without your health, you really don't have much. So I started to change everything little by little. I started to, change my food, toxic substances in my body, my fitness, my health, my mindset. I've always had a strong fundamental faith. Growing up Italian American in New York, going to Catholic school my whole life, I always had prayer and faith and God in my life. And whatever culture or religion you are, and whatever faith you have or don't have, that's your jurisdiction. But loving thy neighbor and treating all people the way you wanted to be treated is just the way I grew up. But if you're not in love with yourself and if you're not healthy yourself, then you don't have much. So once you figure that all out, I think sky's the limit. So that's what I love about this family. We talk about your wealth is your health, or your health is your wealth, however you want to say it. Food is medicine, fitness, sleep, toxic substances in your body, meditation, faith, and prayer, and following your dreams and living passionately. These are all the beautiful things in life, and life is very short, very, very undeterminable as far as how much time we have on this beautiful earth. But if you have all those elements in a well-balanced environment, it's just going to breed so much beautiful vibe and beautiful energy around everyone you're with. So I think it's extremely, extremely important for all of us at one point in our lives to look into our own souls and try to figure that out. Um, and if you don't, I wish again everyone the best of health, wealth, and success. And who are we to say how you want to live your life? But I was motivated and inspired by others, and I always try to motivate and inspire others as well. You could shake your head at me, you could say you don't like me, you don't like my message, you don't like this or what, that or the other. But a lot of us in this group, we push that aside and we just focus on the people who think like us, and we see the success resonating all around us on a daily basis. So that's what I would say about that subject from years of experience, personally and professionally. And I hope, all of you find that path of peace and balance.
Yep. Flexible work environment. This is being tough on corporates nowadays because a lot of companies who are able to offer work at home, all the young people from 21 to like 34 or whatever, they want to work at home, man. Some of them won't work for a company unless they are allowed to work at home. So that's one thing. But flexible work environments, not just that, not just working at home. Um, it's creating a schedule for them that they can balance family and professional life. I was able to do that at the restaurant, not with the whole staff. My core, 3 guys in the 4 guys in the kitchen, and 5 girls in the dining room. The other ones that came were only there for 6 months or a year or 2 years. They just had to work regular schedules. You had a regular schedule. Come in, work, put your time in. My guy Juan, my guy Renee, my guy Kevin, Mary, Lisa, the main core, I started to craft very flexible schedules, and that would work a lot better with their families. I would take care of them because I wanted them to stay, and I could. And if an employee who was there a year said, "Oh, why does Kevin have such a great? He's here 10 years, bro. You're gonna stay 10 years? If you when you hit year 4, I'll work with you." I would tell them, "Stay when you hit year 4. Let's work on a flexible schedule for you. Let's see that happen." You know what I'm saying? So people wouldn't complain. They knew that Renee had on Tuesdays he was supposed to leave at 8, but I would let him leave at 5 o'clock to go have dinner with his family. And then Wednesday morning he would come in maybe an hour or two earlier. And he's like, "Yeah, dude, I'll come in Wednesday mornings 2 hours early. You let me leave and go." I'm like, "Yeah, go home, go have dinner with your family because in the restaurant you have to stay." So that's it on that. We could cover a lot more, but the working from home is important. Um, Rob, do you want to say anything? We'll just skip to the next one.
Yeah, we could go to the next topic.
Let's go start out in the next one. If you have anything, open door policy, learn how to gain trust, incorporate. You want people to come to you, and if there's issue, like talk a little bit about that if you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just goes down to, um, being a leader or a boss. You want, you play so many different roles when you own your own business or you're a senior executive and leader, or when you run a team, or when you're a mother or a father, right? I have two boys. One's a teenager in high school and the other one's younger. They're almost 10 years apart. I had kids a little bit later in life, and I can't just be their friends. I can't just be their father. I can't just, I have to be a combination of everything. Same with employees. You have to find that balance, whether you manage a baseball team or whether you're the boss of a restaurant, or whether you're a senior executive in corporate America. You just got to be honest, transparent, and open. There's just so many people out there who are two-faced. They say one thing in front of your face, but they talk a lot of crap behind your back, and they don't have the you know what to say it in your face. And in my family and in my environment, I tell people all the time, if you can't say it in front of someone's face, then don't say it behind their back. And when you're in a environment like a corporate environment or a restaurant, same thing. Have that open policy. Your door's always open, figuratively and literally. Have employees come in, let them tell you about their issues, their problems, their pros, their cons, the
Yep.
successes, the failures. It's so, so important to have that type of a healthy relationship with people. You might not like what people tell you. You might use some of the stuff they tell you, to the advantage of the employee and the corporation, or the business. But that's, a lot of this is self-explanatory, utilized with real life examples that we all go through. But
Yeah, same
what do you
thing
think,
at my
Marco?
restaurant because corporate's different. A lot of times in corporate, people do their job, and if there's issues with people at work, they don't want to go tell the boss because they don't want to get thrown under the bus saying he tattled on that person. At my restaurant, I would literally one on one once in a while, I would have talks with my workers, my main girls in the front, my waitresses, my staff. Guys, if you have a problem with somebody, come to me. You can trust me. I'm not going to mention your name. I'm not going to overreact. I'm going to let a couple weeks go by. We're going to handle it the right way. I would gain their trust. You could tell me anything. Is it drugs? Is it this? Is it that? Is it somebody stealing? Like, so it's the main thing. You want to make your employees feel comfortable to be able to talk to you about anything, about work, about personal life, about, whatever's going on. I don't know because I ran the restaurant, so I knew how to do it in the restaurant. Corporate, very similar, I think. But I think people are a little more afraid in court, especially in the big corps, when you're in a big company of like, say, 50,000, 100,000 people. But my restaurant was a small family. So I gained their trust and they would tell me everything. I mean, even before they told me I would know, but I would know that I had confidence that if something wasn't right, I would know about it. Because I talked to them and I gained their trust and they gained my trust. So support employees' personal life. Uh Life. Make them feel like they belong. If you support their personal life, they're going to stay longer. Um, you know, their personal life. My guy Kevin, his daughter had a sweet 16. He needed a little time off when we were busy. Not only did I give him the time off, he purchased fish from my restaurant, meats and stuff, and he actually was cooking himself. I let him use my restaurant. It was the week we were closed, the 4th of July week. He went in, he used my sauces, he used the raw food that he bought, and then the bill was like 800 of food that he had to pay the vendors. I actually paid it for him. I said, and he got paid a lot. I didn't have to, but I cared about all my workers, and I would go above and beyond for them all the time, even little things. Just so you let him use the kitchen. He was so happy of just me letting him use the kitchen because we were closed that week. And then when I paid for the stuff, he couldn't believe. He was like, he didn't even want. He's like, no, you already do too much for me. I'm saying it's not. Don't worry about it. You know, anything in my employees' personal lives, I would get involved. This is a true story. My waitress Mary, who came to me when she was I was 22. She's 10 years old, 32. She got divorced and she had 3 kids. That restaurant helped her raise her 3 kids. Um, I bought all the yearbooks for her, me and my father for her kids because her ex-husband was just, you know, to get into that. But I did, and my staff would find out. We wouldn't say it, but she would tell the co-workers. And we bought Christmas time. Her daughter didn't get a present from her ex-husband, and she was like 3 years old. We would buy her like Barbies and stuff. So she was very important to my restaurant. So my father made it a point to take care of her. Like he was like, we, you know, and she stayed with me for 25 years. And she put 3 kids through college, and she was a very important person in our restaurant, you know. So that's how getting involved in personal lives. I did what else
And
did
one
I
of those boys, Marco, I don't mean to chime in, but I just want to say that one of those boys was a Marine, and I think a lot of that had to do with your influence and your brother's influence.
thanks, man. And yeah, she was that important. And I learned it from my dad. My dad was like, we got to take care of her. And you know, and now like I told you, she's in Disney. She I'm so happy I sold. I'm like, Mary, I'm so happy I sold. I wanted you to get out of Mayapack and go down to Florida because she's happy. She loves working for Disney. And when we go down to Disney, now I go see her. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, and her kids are doing really good. A couple of her kids are married with kids. So that's supporting employees' personal life. Last thing is, this I didn't research, but it's fucking crazy because I didn't have this. There's obviously AI tools now to help retain employees. If you don't know what you're doing, you'll download an app, an AI tool, any technology now that I didn't have the technology. I had the old school Vito Barbaro and Gino Barbaro, my brother, helping me. How are we going to fucking retain these employees? Now you have AI tools that you can learn really fast. Like tonight, we had a class. Boom, you have an AI tool. You can learn all this part one, part two, parts five, whatever. So it's really cool. You could look into that. You could start Googling AI tools for employee retention. And I think they listed a couple, but I didn't put them in there. But we are about an hour and 10 minutes in. And like I said, I have a second call lined up, which is similar. It's piggybacking off this, but I love this stuff. Um, it's very, very important if you're going to buy a business, even if you're in corporate and have a job. This is so important what we talked about. To get granular and learn about this, it'll make your life better, it'll make your business better. Instead of like 5Xing your business, if you learn retention strategies, because you're like, oh my God, I'm crushing it. I 5X my business. But if you learn employee motivation retention strategies, you will 10X your business. You don't realize that. Like, because you're doing so good, you could always do better. There's always, like Michael Jordan, you can, oh, behind me, you can always get better. You know, you stop learning, you stop getting better when you're done. That's when you do. So, guys, thank you for coming on a Monday night, you know, when everybody could be relaxing, watching TV. I appreciate for everybody who showed up. Rob, I appreciate you greatly. And going to look forward to the next call and see everybody soon. Have a good night, guys. Take care.